with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week I'm joined by a Nashville newcomer who has been turning heads in the music city for about a year and just released her debut EP in December. Let's welcome to the show, Halle Kearns.
Hello, how's it going?
It is fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
That is great to hear. Before we get too far into it, guys, we're excited to announce that our partnership with Audible has been extended for another month. So if you didn't get a chance to sign up for your free Audible trial in December, don't worry. You can still head over to audibletrial.com/teaparty and sign up for your free month of Audible access. That includes podcasts, wellness programs, Audible originals like The 64th Man with John Cena, and you get a free audiobook just for signing up. All you have to do is head over to audibletrial.com/teaparty. That's audibletrial.com/TEEPARTY.
It's time to tee off with Ty and today's guest, Halle Kearns. Here comes the first four.
Question one, what is your favorite song?
Oh, wow. Right off the bat. Favorite song ever is probably House That Built Me by Miranda Lambert.
That's a good pick.
It just
Okay,
doesn't get...
How about this? Question two, what was your high school mascot?
The Bruins. We were the Bruin Bears.
Nice. Okay, this one stumped some people. What is your go-to coffee order?
Yeah, I change it up literally every day. I'm not at all like the same coffee every day, but go-to would probably be an iced Americano with a little bit of almond milk and 2 pumps of vanilla.
That sounds absolutely perfect. That sounds
So
delicious. I am fading fast today, so some coffee would be super helpful.
I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Okay, here we go. Last question of the first four. What was the worst job you've ever had?
Oh man, I'm about to expose myself. I would probably say I worked in this daycare, and I loved working in a daycare. I love kids so much, so that part wasn't bad, but no one taught me. It was my first job I ever had, and no one taught me how to change a diaper correctly, and I was in newborns. So that was, I don't really need to go into detail with that, but it was just like a 15-year-old girl trying to figure out how to change a diaper for the first time with no help.
That sounds messy.
Rough. That's a good word for it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, that was the first four, Halle. Thanks for getting us through that. But now let's turn our attention more to you. I want to give everybody a chance to tell everybody kind of about yourself. Give us the Cliff Notes version of growing up and how you got into music.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, my little Cliff Notes story. I grew up in Columbia, Missouri for the first 18 years of my life. And then after I graduated high school, well, actually, while I was still in high school, we started having conversations about, like, what are those next steps? Are we going to college? What's up next for me? And I was talking to my dad one day, and I'm like, look, there's nothing I want to go study. Like, I love music, and I really have felt since I was a little kid that, like, I'm called to do this for whatever reason. I just have this passion, and I want to go after it. And he's like, awesome. What does that mean? I'm like, I have no idea. We're going to figure it out though. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I have no one music related in my family at all. So, like, we really were just winging it. So right after I graduated high school, my family had moved to Kansas City, Missouri, just about 2 hours away. And I followed them there thinking I was just going to kind of get my bearings a little bit as a new adult and play a couple shows and then move to Nashville right away. But it actually didn't work out like that. I got into a little circuit of playing shows and I started shadowing some artists. I ended up staying in Kansas City for about 4 years. And I played around 300 shows in that time. And then in March of 2019 is when I finally made the move to Nashville and started making music.
Nice. So you've almost been in Nashville for 2 years now, even though last year I feel like doesn't count for anybody for anything.
Yeah, right? Almost 2 years in March. It'll be 2.
That's awesome. So you kind of knew that you wanted to move to Nashville. Was that something that happened after you got out of high school, or was that something that you kind of just knew you wanted to do, move there and work with music kind of the whole time?
Yeah, I think it must have been on a trip we took, because I know we stopped through Nashville a few times on the way to Florida from Missouri growing up. And it must have been how I found out that that's where you go to pursue music, because I don't remember ever learning that or anyone teaching me that. I just knew, like, Nashville's where you need to go if you want to do country music. And at 16, that's where I told my dad I was going to move, after I graduated and everything. And we actually took a trip to Nashville together, just him and I, and got to tour the city a little bit, and just kind of determined, like, yeah, this is the dream. This is going to happen.
So how much of I don't want to call it a culture shock, but a culture change was it from going from an area where you can play 300 shows, over, you said 4 years, to a place like Nashville where there is music happening all the time, all over the place, and you're really competing with people for spots a little bit more than I would assume you would be up in Missouri.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But it also is a little different for me because, well, this is just a weird story, but whenever I moved to Nashville, I decided that I was going to kind of break from shows for a minute and really, really hone in on the songwriting and really focus on that component of things, because I felt really confident in my performing ability and like the things I had done as far as that side goes. But when it came to writing and just like really finding my voice and what I wanted to say, I was really still green at that and just really trying to figure out what I needed to be about and everything. So I had said right before I moved, like, that is what I'm going to take the whole first year to do, is just write, and really hone in on that part of the craft. And I did that. And the whole point was to, find my sound and find myself a little bit and just get these songs that I feel really proud of and really excited about. And I found those songs. And then I'm so excited. I'm ready to tour them and ready to put them out. And boom, COVID. So it's been, a little different in that regard. But it's still, it's turned into exactly what it's meant to be. And I have still got to play a ton of shows online and that sort of thing and do a lot of lives. So it's been a blessing in disguise, definitely. But
other than COVID, what were some of the biggest hurdles you faced as a new artist and songwriter when you showed up in Nashville?
I think it's really just getting in my own way was probably my biggest thing I had to overcome, or getting out of my own way. I got really in my head and got really caught up in comparison when first moving here, because you do go from like, the big fish in a small pond kind of vibe in Kansas City where like there's not a lot of people doing it actively, to Nashville where everyone's my age, everyone's so talented here and just vibrant, and it's amazing and it's so inspiring, but it also can be you can look at it in a very inspiring way, or you can like have it be very detrimental to you. So that was just kind of a learning curve for me, definitely. And it took some time to really look at myself and understand I'm not competing with anyone but myself. And no one's success equals my failure, and vice versa. Like none of my successes equals anyone else's either. So, and it is like a rising tide raises all ships environment here in Nashville.
Well, and that kind of leads into my next question. If there was somebody that was looking to move to Nashville, obviously you haven't been there for a ton of time, but you've been able to figure out a few things. What kind of advice would you give them, if they were thinking about, okay, I'm going to move to Nashville next month?
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say what I just said to you. That was some advice that was given to me by a good friend here, and that is something that has just changed the way I look at this industry and look at my own life. And just get out of your own way. Like there's no one that can prevent you from doing this, whether that's a move to Nashville or pursuing your dream in music or, getting your dream job, whatever the goal is. Like there's nothing that can stop you from doing that except for yourself. So getting out of your own way and just really just putting your head down and doing the work is the only way you can get anywhere you want to be.
I think that makes a ton of actual sense, and maybe not even just in Nashville, just anything that you're doing, kind of get out of your own way and just let your stuff speak for yourself. And you had a pretty good plan, moving to Nashville. You just wanted to focus on the songwriting, and you mentioned it. You're finally able to get ready to put out some music, and then COVID happened. But you were able to put out your first song on Spotify at the end of July, really the end, July 31st. And then in basically 4 months, you had over 200,000 streams on Spotify, and that was all before you even released your EP. And I know it's probably hard to put into words, but what was that kind of support like from your fan base, being able to rise that quickly? I
can't put it into words because I've tried over and over again. A good way to say thank you. And I just can't find those words because I really, really tried to go into the releases with no expectations. And obviously you do have a little bit of like, of that comparison thing where like, okay, well, I've watched these artists and my friends and stuff release music and this is how they did. So like, I hope it does that well, you know, but you're not holding on to anything because I've never released music before. So it's like, I have no idea how this is going to go. But it just blew me away, the amount of love I got on these songs. And then just with radio and all these different platforms just reaching out and accepting me fully for like my art. And like it's the scariest feeling in the entire world to put music out there because you're like, hey, this is who I am on display. And if you don't like it, like you don't like me as a person, like not the music necessarily, but it's like if you don't like everything I'm doing, like I'm the same person on stage as I am off and online as I am off and that kind of thing. So it's like it feels very vulnerable to kind of like be like, here I am. Do you like me? Do you like it? Like, you know, but it was just amazing to feel so accepted and loved through that and almost like welcomed into this new community.
Definitely. And that's the one thing that I've learned doing this podcast, talking to artists like yourself, is that there really is this community that helps themselves. You mentioned it, you know, the rising tide lifts all boats. But you've been able to really kind of link yourself with this songwriting community in Nashville. And then not only do you have your fan base that's out there listening to your music, but then you also have your music in front of their fan bases, especially if it's somebody that's helped you write a song. And that's definitely got to help out, right? Maybe having some friends there as you're going through this pretty scary journey.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, stocks where everything's moving at all times and things go up and down and up and down. And like everyone's doing their different thing individually. And like sometimes your best friend is performing really well and you're doing terribly. And then it'll change the next week. And it's just, you gotta just like keep that mentality of like, we're all in this together. And like Nashville really does have like individual classes where it's like, it feels, they call them graduating classes here because it really does seem like that, where there's like the Luke Combs and Ray Fulchers and like they all grew up together. They started out these little songwriters who would just write with anyone and everyone, and they were just trying to meet people here in Nashville. They were the newbies, and then you just grow over the years, and then you graduate and you move into the big leagues, and it's like that's so fun. And I found my little community. I think that it's like this is my little freshman group or whatever you want to call them, you know.
Well, and one of those people is Spencer Crandall, who actually helped write the first song that you put out there on Spotify. And I imagine Spencer, he's been on the podcast before. I imagine that he's a fun guy to write with just because he's got a very unique style.
Yes. He's just a fun guy in general, for like, just to put that out there. He is hilarious. Like one of my favorite people in Nashville, without a doubt. Love him to death. But we always have a lot of fun writing. We've written quite a few songs together. We actually have one that I may be putting out next year, or this year, I guess now. But he's just a blast, and he's really, really talented. I have said this before, but I think he is probably the most underrated Nashville artist as far as just his drive and his creative ability. He really is one of a kind.
That's very true. And you can hear even in the songs that he writes, like Pick Me Up, that just kind of his style.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and you've done a good job not just building that community in Nashville, but also building a pretty strong social media following as well. And I'm sure that helped with the popularity of your music and getting that out. But where can people follow you on social media? What are your handles?
My handles are just Halle Kearns on pretty much everything. It's just HalleKearns on everything.
That makes it so easy.
It's all spelled weird, so no one claimed any of them. So it's really nice that it just
that makes sense. If anybody out there wants to know when Halle is dropping some new music, make sure to follow her on social media, especially on Instagram, because you had so many people so excited about your EP for a while before it actually even dropped.
Yeah, that's why we decided to name it Finally, just because I really have had these people around for so long. A lot of them came to shows and that kind of thing growing up, and they were just like, finally. Like, I literally called my dad and I'm like, hey, I have no idea what to name this thing. We were debating titles forever. He goes, how about Finally? And I was like, that's it. Like, I know you're kidding, but that was it. Like, you just said it, because it really does feel like, here it is, finally, after all this time. So yes, all the fans have been awesome and just really receptive to everything.
Well, and I want to pivot now and kind of talk about that EP. It's a 5-song EP. You put it out on December 11th, so it's just barely a month old by the time this comes out on Tuesday. But talk to everybody about what that process was like, of knowing that you want to put out music and then deciding to put out an EP versus individual tracks, and then where your timing came from.
Yeah, well, a lot of it was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I definitely had a little bit of a strategy to it. So I knew initially I wanted to release a few singles, trying to just even put myself on the map. I didn't want to come out right out of the gates, since I've never released music before, with a project, because I just felt like it was a lot to digest right up front. So I started with 3 individual singles, but I wanted them really close together because I wanted their lives of each other to almost be touching, if that makes any sense. I wanted it to flood one into the next. I didn't want one to die down before the next one was out. I wanted them all to just like carry on right into the final EP, which was kind of the goal all along. So once I recorded all 5 of these songs in March or April, I believe, we just knew that this was kind of going to be the rollout. And once I released the first song, which we kept pushing the date back for, that's why it came out in late July. But once we picked that first date, we knew everything was going to come out anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks from the last release.
That makes a ton of sense. Did that have anything to do with COVID and all of that?
Not necessarily. I mean, maybe if I had been able to tour the songs individually, I maybe would have slowed them down a tiny bit just to, like, you know, have some time to play them out. But I really I know how hungry I get to hear my favorite artist's new music and that kind of thing. So I'm like, I don't want people to be like, oh, that Pick Me Up song is awesome. That is so good. I wish you had more music out, and then never hear from me again. Like, I wanted it to be like, okay, you like this song? Go check out the other ones. Like, there are 4 more coming. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to continually keep people interested. And I also know attention spans are not as long as they used to be. So I'm trying to, like, also keep the attention. But also, I've been sitting on this music for so long that I was just stoked to finally get it out. And again, we're back to the finally thing.
Well, and we've got a couple of songs for everybody to take a listen to kind of hear the feel of that EP, and then hopefully go out and listen to the rest of it. And the first one that we have, it's called Whatever You Do. It's already got 40,000 streams on Spotify. Halle, where did this song come from?
This song comes from my love of all things water. I'm from Missouri, like I said, so I'm like the most landlocked, and then I lived in Kansas, so like the most landlocked you can get. But I just have like this crazy love for the beach and anything beach related. So this song just came from that love, and it's a really fun, flirty song that's just like, whatever you do, don't stop doing whatever you do, because I'm loving it. Like, that's basically the whole vibe of it. And it takes place on the beach. It has a huge Zac Brown band, beachy mandolin feel to it. And yeah, it just comes from that love of the ocean.
Well, here, let's let everybody take a listen to it. This one's called Whatever You Do by Halle Kearns.
Had a duffel bag, just me and the girls, not a care in the world. And you walk in with a couple of friends, with a look saying I'm only here for the weekend. Pull up a seat right next to me. Now whatever you do, don't stop sliding over closer, and don't you stop talking over the music that's making you move your lips a little closer to mine. Whatever you do, keep on dancing all around me, and keep on trying to make me forget that we just met, 'cause I'm really getting into whatever you do. We got 2 Coronas and a booth in the back. We won't stay forever, won't mention the past, but the sky's clear, so let's get out of here. We're kicking off our shoes, we're taking my hand, asking if I know how to dance. I said, boy, you couldn't teach me if you wanted to, but whatever you do, don't stop sliding over closer, and don't you stop talking over the music that's making you move your lips a little closer to mine. Whatever you do, keep on dancing all around me, and keep on trying to make me forget that we just met, 'cause I'm really getting into whatever you do. Now whatever you do, don't stop sliding over closer. Just quit talking over the music, boy, just do it. Put your lips on mine. Whatever you do, keep on dancing all around.
And that one off of her brand new EP. It's called Whatever You Do by today's guest, Halle Kearns. And Halle, I want to pivot a little bit and talk about your songwriting. What does your songwriting process look like? Are you one of those people that starts with a melody or an idea or lyrics or kind of everything?
Yeah, it's always kind of different. I could say my preference is I like to start with a really strong hook or concept and then figure out the vibe of what that sentence or what that hook makes me feel, and then go into melodies and lyrics and that kind of thing. But I always like to have like a strong center point to kind of work towards. But honestly, all 5 of these songs were written so differently in so many different ways that the topics came up and the hooks came up and that kind of thing, to where it didn't happen exactly like that. But I think any songwriter, I don't really know if there's any songwriter that's like, I start at the very first line and work all the way down every single time. Like, songs just come in the weirdest way, and it's the strangest process.
You're right. I have not heard a single songwriter say that they just write from start to finish.
Yeah, line 1 to the end. Yeah, that'd be so hard.
Are you one of those people that likes to start the write by yourself and then move into a co-write, or do you like to kind of build everything inside of the co-write?
I usually have a few songs started that I will bring in case we're not coming up with anything, but I usually like to kind of go into a room and see what I play off of people's emotions and energies so much, like if someone's super excited and whatever, like the perfect example is me and Spencer Crandall. Whenever me and him got into a room together, Pick Me Up came out because we're just both like off the wall, like I'm playing off his like spastic energy and we're just like having fun writing the song, and that's where Pick Me Up came out of. But if someone's like super mellow and like chill, I'm like, well, we could probably get into like a really like kind of cool Casey Musgraves vibe or something like that, and I like to play off of that. But if we're not really getting anything, then I have a couple in my back pocket that I can pull out and we can get something that day.
I think that sounds like a really fun way to do it. Have something safe just in case there's nothing that's working. But, going in there with just a completely open mind, I think really showcases why the 5 songs on the EP kind of all have a different feel.
Yeah, I like that. I tried to like get a good grip on my furthest left of what my songwriting is like and the furthest right, and meaning like I can go like this far beachy and just like super like a fun little groove we're doing, and then very sad and intimate and heartbreaking and like everything in between. And I want each of those facets to be like showcased through this little EP, so like one day when I have an album out, you can see how they all combine within a longer project.
Well, and we've got another song here, and I think it's got the most streams of any song that you have out on Spotify. You originally put it out in October. It's part of your new EP. It's called Shoes to Fill, and it's got such a powerful feel and message behind the song. Give us the story about how this one came about.
Yeah, this is my favorite song I've ever written in my entire life, and it has most of it to do with that it's about my dad. He is my favorite human in the world. He raised me and my 3 sisters so well, and he gave up his entire life to be a good dad to us. And this song is basically just speaking directly to my future person and saying, hey, like, it's kind of a warning. Someone put it like that. Someone said, like, it sounds like a warning. And I'm like, it is. It's a really gentle and kind warning to my future person. Like, I have had a really good example of how I deserve to be loved by someone and how I deserve to be valued by that future someone, because I've been shown such a good example of what unconditional love is. So that's what this song is about, and it's just in honor of him.
And this song has a real kind of daddy-daughter dance at a wedding.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that would make my entire life.
Well, here it is for everybody. This one is called Shoes to Fill by Halle Kearns.
In first grade, I fell down in the driveway, scraped my knee, and Dad ran out with a Band-Aid. Well, he sat down beside me, eye to eye there on the concrete. Just let me cry and wipe my tears away. At 16, I wrecked my first car, and I thought he'd be mad 'cause it was my fault. But he picked me up, dropped everything, and swore he wouldn't say a thing. Just let me cry and wipe my tears away. He spent my whole life sitting in the bar for the man who gets to have my heart. So if you wanna take the hand that he held first, you have gotta be the man he showed me I deserve. And if you're gonna love me like nobody ever will, well, baby, you got big shoes to fill. Spent 2 years betting my heart on someone who swore he'd never felt more in love. But on the day he walked away, all his words lost their weight. But deep down I knew how it would end up. 'Cause I know when love feels right, since I've seen it in my father's eyes. If you wanna take the hand that he held first, you have gotta be the man he showed me I deserve. And if you're gonna love me like nobody ever will, well, baby, you got big shoes to fill. When it's time to give up my last name, dear whoever's standing in his place, if you wanna take the hand that he held first, you have gotta be the man he showed me I deserve. And if you're gonna love me like nobody ever will, well, baby, you got big shoes to fill.
And that one was Shoes to Fill off of her debut EP, Finally. And Halle, it has been an absolute blast to have you on here. We'll definitely have to do it again in the future. And it sounds like you got some music coming out in 2021, hopefully.
I absolutely do. And thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun. I love getting to talk to you.
Absolutely. And it's not over just yet. We end every podcast in the same way, kind of the same way that we started. We call it the Final Four. And it's probably the 4 toughest questions that I ask you because they make you think a little bit, okay?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
It's time for the Final Four.
First question. If you could pick any one person, alive or dead, to go on tour with, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. I think it would be, at this moment, you can ask me tomorrow, it'll change, probably Casey Musgraves right now.
Okay, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? This one's a little bit easier, I think. Who are the 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify?
Ooh, let me pull it up. Let's see. We got Carly Pierce. We got Seaforth. A lot of these are podcasts, sorry. And Dan and Shay. That's so funny. Those are not who I would have guessed. That's so funny.
That every time I've asked this question, it ends up pretty much the same. It's not like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even remember listening to that. I'm like, Crime Junkies podcast. I sound like a serial killer, but here we are. Everybody loves true crime podcasts, I think. I don't think I've found anybody that doesn't like them.
Yeah, they're addicting.
Okay, how about this? What is your favorite onstage memory?
Okay, can I give you a funny one and a real one?
Sure.
Okay, so my favorite moment, I got to sing at my hometown music venue. It's called the Blue Note in Columbia, Missouri. It's kind of a mid-tier venue, and I got to open for Eli Young Band there. And it was a sold-out show, my first sold-out show I've ever played, and I got to open up the whole thing. And I went out there, and I saw all these people from my hometown that I grew up with, and some people that said I wasn't going to do it, that kind of thing. And I'm singing up there, and I just started crying. I was playing I covered Ashley McBride's "Girl Going Nowhere," and I just started crying on stage. And that sounds like something that would be embarrassing, but it honestly was just such a cool moment for me, and it just felt like you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing, keep going.
That's got to be a cool feeling. It really does.
It was really awesome. And then my funny one, this is a disaster. This is my most embarrassing moment on stage. Or it wasn't even embarrassing. It was just what is going on? But I was playing this is one of my first shows I ever played in Kansas City. I was 18. I went up with a there was an open mic night and they had a house band playing. So they just kind of picked up whatever you were playing and joined in with you. And I started playing my songs. I got through about 2, maybe 3 songs. And then I'm on my 3rd and I'm playing some song that I wrote. I don't remember what it was called. And then all of a sudden this guy stands up and kind of nudges me over, like gets on stage and kind of like pushes me to the side. And I was like, oh, what? Okay. So I move away from my microphone. He pulls out a jazz flute and starts playing. I'm doing like this. I used to play like super traditional country. I'm playing this like traditional country set. He gets out a jazz flute and starts going ham into the microphone. Like it was so weird and so funny. Like he was a crowd member, just got up there and started playing. It was feeding back so bad. And then he got down and I just finished out the song and that was it. I remember looking at my dad and he just looked at me. He was like white as a ghost with his eyes popping out of his head. And he was just like, what was that?
It really, at that point, I mean, all you can do is just kind of shrug your shoulders.
And that's exactly, there's a video of all of it somewhere. I have to find it. But I was like, well, thanks for that. And then I just went to my next song. What are you supposed to do with that?
That is amazing. Okay, Halle, we've got one more question.
Let's do it.
If you could pick one thing for people to take away from this podcast and from your music in general, what would it be?
Oh, man. I hope.
Tough.
It is tough. If I could have one thing, though, it would just, I hope everyone walks away feeling a little more understood than whenever they either listen to this or listen to my music. Like the whole reason I want to do music and put music out and be able to perform it and meet people out on the road and that kind of thing is just so I remember hearing lyrics and stuff that put into words, but like I was never able to. And like I would hear something and be like, thank you for saying that. Like this artist, like I feel connected with you because I didn't know how to say that. And you sang it so like perfectly. Now that feeling feels validated to me. And I hope that like my songs can do that for other people.
Well, that is a fantastic message to take away. Halle, thank you so much for jumping on here. And like I said, we'll definitely do it again.
Yes, I would love nothing more.
And that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast, guys. It's a country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Halle Kearns and her new EP, Finally.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Jay Gwynn. And as always, hosted by Ty Pisani.